In the last decade, Christopher Nolan has established himself as the mad professor of blockbusters. With Interstellar, Inception, and to a lesser extent The Dark Knight Rises, he's become the chief purveyor of movies that not only have the broad populist mainstream appeal that comes with the biggest, most star-studded and expensive of the year, but also come in craftily packaged with huge, ambitious questions about society and themes that stem right from the nature of human existence. For example, Interstellar seems like a beat-the-clock, save-the-planet space romp, but smuggles question about love as a scientific constant and the nature of devotion. The Dark Knight Rises delivered a movie that's chiefly about two men hitting each other and the inherent class system in society and how societal unrest functions as both an inevitable social release valve and an inherently corrupt manipulation to serve the ends of a tyrannical dictator. Inception is about dreams and guns and sexy thrills, and also a somber examination of madness, grief, and suicide. Love Nolan for his ambition or hate him because every blockbuster franchise these days is now steeped in grim psychological realism, but you can't deny that Nolan is incredibly skilled in wrong-footing his audience, baffling them with cinematic sleight of hand. And when it comes to sleight of hand, no movie manages that more than The Prestige, a deceptive movie about illusionists and the art of deception itself. The Prestige, which by the way is 10 years old now, gosh doesn't time run shrieking and laughing away from us, is a movie about magicians that is in itself a magic trick. Now, that's not exactly a huge revelation, though. The film is quite heavy-handed in laying out the structure of a trick, the pledge, aka the premise, the turn, aka the distraction, the prestige, aka the grand reveal, and reincorporating that structure when the big twists come thick and fast in the final act. But then, after the magician's cloth is lifted and the movie reveals science fiction that borders on the genuinely supernatural, it leaves its audience shocked, amazed, and a little baffled, wondering what's real and what's merely crafty misdirection, like any good trick. So what does the ending of The Prestige really mean? Well, let's start with what we can see happening in front of us. Lord Caldo is actually Angiers in disguise and reveals this to a jailed Borden before he walks off with custody of the man's daughter, which is something of a dick move. Borden is then hanged for the apparent murder by drowning of Angiers. Shortly after, Angiers reveals that his transported man trick used Tesla's science to create a duplicate of himself with all his memories intact, while the man who stepped into the machine each night is drowned, creating the world's most handsome underwater mass grave. Then Borden returns to shoot Angiers, revealing that the person known as Alfred Borden was actually a pair of identical twins. When one was Borden, the other would disguise himself as his engineer and assistant Fallon. The two men took it in turns to be Borden, one brother loving Borden's wife Sarah, the other loving his mistress Olivia. One brother was hanged, the other lived to execute Angiers and walked away with his daughter Jess. Now that... gosh, that's complicated, but on the Christopher Nolan scale of needless complication, it's actually fairly easy to follow when flashbacks pile on top of flashbacks. Despite this, the ending has been subject to both abject praise and total scorn online. See, the film revolves entirely around magic not being real. There's a practicality to each and every trick, and then along comes Tesla's cloning machine, the effects of which might as well be real magic for how much it makes physical sense. Also, quite a big plot hole that the ending throws up. Why would Angiers kill his duplicate multiple times? Why not duplicate himself just once, then use a fake machine on stage, with one Angiers dropping beneath the stage to safety and the other climbing to the balcony? Why the need for the bloodshed? Could Angiers not trust himself, i.e. his duplicate, to keep his trick a secret? Did he never know when Borden would head beneath the stage in order to frame him, so he had to kill himself every night? And seriously, in a world where the solution to every illusion, no matter how seemingly impossible, always has a grounding in reality, how the hell does that electric cloning machine work? People have posited theories online that, in fact, the machine doesn't work at all. All Tesla's machine does is create sparks, and the multiple cats and hats are simply replicas, an extended piece of showmanship. The flashback of Angiers meeting and shooting his own duplicate is just a lie spun by Angiers as he dies, and that the copy of Angiers that ended up in the tank to frame Borden was in fact Root, the double that Angiers uses earlier in the film. The bodies in the tanks, waxworks created by Angiers. Such theories exist to suggest that in the end the final trick is not on Angiers, on Borden, but on the audience itself, that Nolan has used an unbelievable sleight of hand, a magic machine with lights and sparks, to distract the audience from a stupidly complex but ultimately practical solution to a magical problem. But in the end, the movie rejects such scrutiny, with Cutter at the film's conclusion stating, "You're looking for the secret, but you won't find it because of course you're not really looking. You don't really want to work it out. You want to be fooled." Thematically, at least, Cutter's right. It doesn't matter, because the machine and the multiple duplicate murders perfectly serves the film's main theme. That sacrifice must be made to create the perfect illusion. Whether it's Chung Ling Soo pretending to be crippled for years, the twin brothers Borden each only being able to enjoy half a life, of Angiers stepping into the machine every night, never knowing if it would be him or his double drowning in the depths below. Death following obsession with perfection is strung throughout the film, with Angiers' wife dying because of a better not. That's the act that sets the magicians against each other in the first place. Now, the ending divides a lot of people, with some, like the audiences in a magic show, refusing to accept the simple and comforting idea that the fantastical is real. They try to find a logical truth, but when the curtain comes down, after the wands and top hats have been put away, the practicality of the film's ending is just plot. The only thing you know for sure is that once again, Nolan has used a high concept to smuggle a big, ambitious question about humanity onto our screens. Is the perfect deception, is your legacy worth dying for? A question of obsession that ultimately touches us all. Setting up the plot is just the pledge. The boggling twist ending is just the turn, something unbelievable made to distract you. What the film makes you feel, though, the horror and respect for people with that insane passion to succeed, that's the true prestige. I'm Adam from Whatculture.com, and to me at least, that's what the ending of The Prestige really means.